Empire State Mall. Lover, she's been waiting for me just across the bar. I know I gave that to you months ago. Holes in my apologies. So if by the time the bar closes and you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home.
Joe Biden is
tonight. We are young. So I set the world on fire. We can go higher than the sun. Oh. See you on the White House lawn. Really cool. We just gotta hope the economy crashes, boys. I'll be honest. Nancy Mace definitely bites people. Doesn't she? Doesn't Nancy Mace bite people? I feel like she needs to. Nancy Mace definitely bites people. No evidence found of Charlie Kirk shooter to left-wing groups. Holy moly. What? Okay.
Joe Biden.
Cool. Charlie. I want to talk about Charlie Kirk. When did the Buffalo, New York shooting happen? Buffalo, New York shooting. 2022. So Biden was president. When did the El Paso shooting? El Paso shooting. That was 2019. Okay. So during Trump's presidency, El Paso, then Biden's presidency, Buffalo, New York, Walmart, and another grocery store. So that's good to keep written down. Charlie Kirk right now is being used as a martyr for the right wing. What happened to Charlie Kirk, in my opinion, is an attack on humanity. I was extremely distraught when I saw what happened. That should never have any place in our political process whatsoever. So anyone who does not condemn all forms of political violence in our democracy is bad, all right? It's bad to not condemn violence. But Charlie Kirk was a terrible person. He was a terrible person. And I've been seeing many conservatives get really mad when people point that out. So Tim Pool, for example, AOC says that Charlie Kirk was bad because he was racist. He believed the Civil Rights Act was bad. He made fun of Paul Pelosi getting attacked, having surgery for a fractured skull in the assassination attempt against Nancy Pelosi. He accused Jews of controlling the colleges and funding all the nonprofits in Hollywood, all that kind of stuff. So like she says all these points, and Tim Pool reacts and he says AOC is celebrating Charlie's death because she is evil. When conservatives say liberals are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, they are taking any criticism whatsoever and saying you are celebrating his death. You can say that his death is a crime against humanity, and also say that he was against much of humanity. He made fun of political violence. Some of the things that I'm going to show in this video, I saw this video earlier today. I think it really shows a good collection of Charlie Kirk and what he actually said. But big points I picked out of that. Charlie Kirk has called for the public execution of Democratic politicians. He's joked about assassination attempts. He wanted Joe Biden to be put to the death penalty as well. Charlie Kirk says, and this is really crazy to me, when people say Charlie Kirk's not a radical, tell them this belief. Charlie Kirk believes if his own daughter was raped by a family member, that his 10-year-old daughter should be forced to carry that baby to term. That is an extremely extremist and radical position in America. In most free countries, the idea that the government would show up to your 10-year-old daughter and say it's illegal for her to get an abortion after being raped by a family member is an extremely fringe position. Charlie Kirk believes a 10-year-old girl should need to carry her rapist's child to term. And this happens a lot in America. There's one big story of like a 10 or 13-year-old in Ohio who was raped by a family member, I believe, and who went to Indiana for care. And the doctor that gave her that care for an abortion was almost fired from her job and held legally accountable for giving her that care. All right, so kids are impacted here. Charlie Kirk's belief there is insane. That's an insane fundamentalist belief. Okay. Now, he also says abortion is worse than the Holocaust. And there's no difference, Charlie Kirk says, between an embryo being eliminated and a fully grown Jew, he said, in his own words. All right. Charlie Kirk believes Martin Luther King Jr. was a terrible person and that the Civil Rights Act was a big mistake. And it's just a weapon that blacks use to be anti-white in America today. He also said that there's blacks who are prowling blacks who are prowling through cities looking for white people to intentionally harm. Also, his repeated jokes about black, not even jokes, but his statements about black pilots just being given a chance to fly because they're black, because blacks can't deserve anything. They're obviously DEI hires. He said that multiple times. And I'll show some videos here, but these opinions are very fringe in America. There's a lot more there. But you can say what happened to him is atrocious. All right? Which it was. And also say that the way he used his abilities, and he is an amazing messenger, okay? He was one of the most gifted political operatives in American history, in my opinion. Game, gotta respect Game. He was really good at what he did, all right? He was very good. He was probably the best that, probably I'm not doing like top 5 LeBron James rankings, but he really was the LeBron James of his political side. So I mean, I give him all the credit there, but what he advocated for was terrible. And being a man of faith alone doesn't dictate what I view you as. Okay, you have to be someone who lives in a certain way and is a man of faith. All right, being a man of faith, there are many terrible people who say they believe in God. There are many terrible people. The KKK were men of faith. They were not good people, but the KKK was a Christian nationalist terrorist group. They were men of faith. Al-Qaeda, they were men of faith. They believed in God. You have to live a certain way. I'm not comparing Charlie Kirk to them, but just in terms of values, you need to live a certain way. Just saying that's a man of faith, they're criticizing. Yeah, you could be a man of faith and be a terrible person, or you could be a great person. You have to judge someone by their actions and what they advocate for. But yeah, this video is pretty good accumulation here. I want people to come together. I'm sick of Russian, Chinese, Indian bots making us fight each other. I'm sick of politicians abusing his death for political proficiency and benefit. I want to talk about America and how we can move forward. So
Joe Biden is a bumbling...
But I'm not going to let them say Charlie Kirk was some type of good person, because he was not.
Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled Alzheimer's, corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
Now, if Charlie Kirk thinks Joe Biden should be executed, okay, what does he think about you? Think about that.
Who should honestly
Joe
be
Biden.
put in prison and...
So Joe Biden should be put to death for his job as president, but also he says Joe Biden was asleep at the wheel and not even president. So which one is it?
or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
What age
Not a Joe Biden
should
fan,
you
by the
start
way.
to see public executions?
We need to have a Nuremberg-style trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor. We need it immediately.
Yeah, and the Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon.
You hear that, William Thomas? You're an abomination to God.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the right has been working overtime to sanctify him, turning a deeply controversial figure into a martyr.
Someone said he's talking about executions for PDF files. He literally says Joe Biden should be given the death penalty. He literally says that multiple times. Did you ignore that part? Maybe he was talking about, PDF files getting executed publicly. But still, that's advocating for public violence. Even if the government does it, it's still violence. I'm against the death penalty because the government's wrong sometimes. And I don't want the state to have the legal ability to kill you because they have been wrong many times, way too many times. I'd rather put someone in a cage their entire life rather than pick and choose whose life we take. For my own views.
Of free speech. They want you to believe that he was nothing more than a decent man who loved debate, a patriot who just wanted a conversation. It's a neat little narrative.
Oh yeah, he also covered for the January 6th terrorists who tased cops in the neck, gouged their eyeballs out, cracked their skulls, drove them to suicide and brain damage, permanent brain damage. He also covered for them as well, which is pretty gross.
But it's also an outright.
And that's all political violence. That's all political violence. If you're in MAGA and you want to say January 6th was no big deal, you're pro-political violence. Trump pardoned them. You said it's no big deal that these people beat up cops. It's no big deal that some of them went out to be repeated offenders after Trump pardoned them. You say it's no big deal. You can't say you're anti-political. If you're pro-January 6th, you're pro-political violence. It's not good.
Kirk didn't just say things people disagree with. He spent his career pouring gasoline on America's divides, demonizing his opponents, and escalating rhetoric to the point where violence felt inevitable. That doesn't mean that he deserved what happened. Of course it doesn't. Nobody deserves that. But it does mean that we cannot sit back and allow history to be rewritten in real time. Because what's happening now is whitewashing at its most grotesque. The very people who cheered on his...
Now notice in chat, guys, I'll put chat on the screen. Notice in chat, people say, oh, January 6th, is that all you have? Yeah, because we're real humans. We're real humans. If you want to whitewash history and not talk about that huge infringement on our values as Americans, then you can't really contest with the points. You can't even respond to my points. You have to just say, oh, January 6th, like you're watching a reality TV show. There's tons of other points to bring up. There's an anti-vaxxer who just shot up the CDC building. A black cop died from that shooting. No one cares about that right-wing extremism. There's a right-winger who killed the Democrats in Minnesota. All right, that's a right-winger. No one cares about that. A white guy just killed 3 cops in York County, Pennsylvania. Middle of nowhere white guy, libertarian right-winger. All right, no one talked about that as a national story. But a black guy does that. I guarantee you. A trans person does what that guy did in York, Pennsylvania. Look up that story. A trans or black person does that. It's going to be national headlines for the entire week. You're going to call for execution of all trans people. It's just... Yeah, it's not equal coverage of any of this.
Extremism are suddenly pretending that it never existed, while exploiting his death to smear their enemies. So let's cut through the spin. Don't take my word for it.
Yeah,
Take
Charlottesville.
his. Here are just a few examples, in his own words, that show exactly...
The guy who shot up the grocery store in El Paso, Texas, saying there's an invasion of illegals, like repeating Trump quotes. The guy in Buffalo who live streamed himself killing black people in a grocery store to the point where he said sorry to the white people there. He was apologizing to the white people there because he only wanted to kill black people in Buffalo. That's a right-wing terrorism right there. But again, they want to memory hole it. They want to say it's not real. I'm not blaming. I would never blame all Republicans for that. I would never do that. It's a brain-dead thing to do. Okay? But Republicans want to blame all liberals because they hate their fellow American. I don't hate my fellow American. I don't. But Republicans right now want to take this one crazy person who went batshit insane, this like libertarian who turns out to be gay maybe. They want to use that person to say, the left killed Charlie Kirk. That's a disgrace and disrespectful to Charlie Kirk's life as well. If you're going to be so ready to be tribal and not come together as Americans.
Exactly who Charlie Kirk really was.
Okay, everybody, a lot of people are going to be saying happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work. Have a good day.
We got to get Joe Biden out of the way so we can run up against Cammie. Oh my goodness, is she beatable? It's like Black Hillary on steroids. Is she black? I guess she says she's Caribbean or whatever. Doesn't matter. She gives these speeches and it just has this aura of totalitarianism. My team says she's Indian and Caribbean. I'll tell you.
I'm sorry, but the same thing with Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know how you can listen to these people and be like, oh shit, Kamala Harris is totalitarian, bro. Joe Biden, holy shit, communist. Jimmy Kimmel, the number of people right now who are offended by Jimmy Kimmel of all people. Do you know how big of a snowflake you gotta be to be offended by Jimmy Kimmel? You're worse than the worst ever SJW, bro. You're literally the girl in that meme that's crying when Trump won. It's Jimmy Kimmel. You're offended by Jimmy Kimmel? Like,
what? She would be a lot easier to beat than Joe Biden. A lot. I mean, Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled, Alzheimer's, corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
By the way, this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals.
Expensive.
It should be public. It should be quick. It should be televised. By the way, you could fund
Force
the
kids
government
to watch it.
You could have like brought to you by Coca-Cola. What age should you start to see public executions?
16.
I think you could do it earlier. I think you maybe at age 12,
Whenever-
like 6th grade or so.
Yeah, and the Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon. But
I just don't understand that. Like, you want 10-year-olds to be forced to carry their rapist child to term, and also for them to be forced to watch public executions after. I just don't get that mind frame, bro.
if you have unapologetic, ferocious anti-white racism, then young whites are going to find some very radical political positions.
Right.
And I don't want that, actually.
Right.
But that's where a lot of the young white men that we speak to on campus, I sometimes have to kind of bring them back into like free society, like let's calm down, because they say everyone's against us. We need to create our own identity politic group.
Right.
And I actually don't think that's a good idea. I don't think more tribalism is the answer to tribalism. But
Now, Charlie Kirk did love tribalism, especially when Nick Fuentes pushed up on his movement. He had to become more tribal, but he always was tribal. But the race baiting politics, he did that more so at the end of his career. He used to be more just like free market focused.
I see why they believe that. We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also,
Like, for example, like Charlie Kirk right now, he was still pro World War II, for example. He was on the right side of World War II. Like, he still was not questioning the Holocaust. But like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and these new right-wingers do question all those things. Joe Rogan has Holocaust deniers on like 24/7 now. Yeah, they have them on all the time. But Charlie Kirk was still considered a moderate to those people. Laura Loomer, too. Laura Loomer hated Charlie Kirk. Laura Loomer would talk so terribly about Charlie Kirk. And now she's using him as a martyr. Like, she hated Charlie Kirk's guts. They saw Charlie Kirk as one of the final like pillars in Republican politics who was keeping them from going full fascist. And he was pretty authoritarian. But Laura Loomer still thought Charlie Kirk would not go far enough. And she ripped him apart on social media multiple times. Laura Loomer, Trump's side piece.
True.
I have a question. Okay, what's your question? Why did you say that the civil rights bill should be overturned?
I didn't say that. I said it was a mistake.
Why? That's crazy.
I gotta figure it out.
I wouldn't be here.
So I'm sorry, are you trying to say that blacks thrive under subjugation?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm asking you the question. The data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad. It was evil. But what happened? Something changed. Something that is common in New York City is that young thugs will come up and actually, as you rent the bike, push the bike back in, kind of as a way to troll you, as a way to be.
I've been in cities so much. I've never seen this happen ever, bro. I've been in a lot of cities for a lot of time.
Like, oh, you paid for it? Well, you lose all your money type thing. Now, were they trying to hijack her? Were these blacks trying to go rob her?
Were these blacks? Dude, if you want to be afraid of the world, it's a scary place outside for sure. You could be in a bubble wrap inside. Like, it's a thing you can do, but the world is not that scary. Unless if people want to make it scary, which we shouldn't do that. But, like, it's a random event if you go to a city and get into trouble, or if someone does something to you. Like, it's very random. These cities are mostly going to be very safe. Like, in rural areas of the country where it's very poor, you're going to have issues as well. But he wants to focus on the blacks.
Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around
Prowling
for
blacks
fun
is a
to go
crazy
target,
term,
trying to
bro.
go rob her.
Prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people is a crazy quote. I'm not going to lie.
Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target.
Bro, prowling blacks is a crazy term, bro. I'm sorry. Prowling blacks is crazy.
Something that is common in New York City is that young thugs will come up and...
Young thugs, too. Bro, just say the N-word. Just say it. Just say it, bro. Don't say young thugs. These thugs and gangsters, bro. These thugs.
Actually, as you rent the bike, push the bike back in. kind of as a way to troll you,
Young
as a way
thugs
to be
and
like, oh, you
prowling
paid for
blacks.
it, well, you lose all your money type thing. Now, were they trying to hijack her? Were these blacks trying to go rob her? Happening all the time in urban America? Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact.
Dude.
It's happening more and more. Do you know that more than 600?
Jesus.
Is that stat real, Blake? Come on.
Prowling blacks is crazy. That's a crazy.
I don't know if that stat is real. We're going to double. Okay, I'm going to say it.
Someone said young thugs and prowling blacks is not racial in chat. That's the first actual argument I heard in chat. That young thugs and prowling blacks is not racial.
More than 600 white women a year are murdered by black men. 600 white women a year. Did you know that? They are
how many white men and white women are involved in that? You know, on the same day that Charlotte person, the Ukrainian woman that was killed on that bus, you know, on that same day, a white man in Oklahoma did the same exact thing on a bus, like randomly slit a white girl's throat, and no one talked about that story. You know that 3 cops just got gunned down in York, Pennsylvania by a random libertarian guy who was hiding in the crops in the corn because he was stalking his girlfriend. No one talks about that. That white guy killing 3 cops and injuring 2. No one talks about that because it's not racialized. They can't blame black people. They can't blame trans people. So no one gives a shit in America right now. You can look it up. I'll look it up. You know, like, this stuff happens with all races. Okay, violence happens. It's mostly men. If you want to crack down on any group, it's going to be men, and you should be against cracking down on people based off their demographics for that reason. You could be next, right?
To believe white bad, black good. White bad, black good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight 781 with nonstop service from Houston, Texas to Washington Reagan National Airport. I want to tell you that
Here's a local report from the Tulsa police, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Around 1 p.m., they responded to reports of stabbing. A woman was stabbed in the neck by a man as she was exiting the bus. This happened the same week, I'm pretty sure. So the same week, a white guy did the same thing. That was going crazy. They're crazy. It's not because they're white or black, it's because they're crazy. But this story did not get national attention at all. But the right wing wanted to focus on the one because they could demonize black people. Like, that is a clear sign of, like, true. If you want to know what the word racism means, one big area is just a blind spot. So a white guy kills a bunch of cops in York, Pennsylvania. That would be a national story usually. If it was a black person, it would be. If it was a trans person, it would be. And we know because this white guy here stabbed a girl on a bus on transit. Not national story. But the black guy with schizophrenia who did it in Charlotte, North Carolina, was a national story, and they used it as a reason to say, oh, black people are violent. Or, you know, whatever they want to infer by saying that. But the blind spot to the crime when it's done by a white guy, when it's not demographically convenient for you, is a really crazy. But if it's a black guy, dude, holy shit, it's a big political thing for the right wing now. Like, that is true racism bias right there. It's not even like prejudice or whatever. That is true bad.
we have Sheila Jackson-Lee on board, and in the spirit of affirmative action, we have Ramon and Cadillac are your two pilots. They've never flown before, but they are black.
If I'm dealing...
Sure, it took 1 month to come out. Bro, in chat, someone in chat said it took 1 month to come out. It came out at the same time. It happened at the same time. No one talked about it. You're proving my point.
With somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman. I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome. It creates resentment.
And I'm not allowed to say that this guy's not an American. I'm sorry, he's not an American.
At what point is it time?
Yeah, Charlie Kirk also said that people who are American citizens are foreign invaders and they should be deported and beat up by the government. So he did hate, like, he called Zohran Mamdani a foreign invader, I'm pretty sure, and a bunch of other people who are American citizens. Charlie Kirk said Somalis are invading. He said Somalis are invading Minnesota, which is the same thing the trans shooter there said when they shot up that school in Minnesota. They believed Somalis were invading, so they agreed with Charlie Kirk there, which is a terrible thing to say. Ilhan Omar right now, Trump called Ilhan Omar a piece of scum, a non-American, un-American enemy of America. Like, Trump and the Republican Party towards Ilhan Omar. Charlie Kirk himself saying Islam is he said what? Islam is the sword the left uses to cut the throat of America, or some crazy shit.
To start to at least use rubber bullets. One of the reasons I'm pro-Israel is that when Israel gets invaded on their border, they defend their border. If 300...
Someone said, all you are doing is building a straw man argument to attack Charlie Kirk after he was killed. No one in chat made an argument yet.
100 Palestinian Arabs tried to run in Israel like that. It wouldn't end well for them. We're the only superpower on the planet where we just allow people to run them over. And we're supposed to, just so you understand, those military-aged males are now going to get cell phones, food, cash, flights to the interior of the United States. Why do we have a military? Why do we have men with guns if we can't use them? Israel's defending itself, but why can't America defend itself the same way Israel defends itself? And understand, this is not about shooting people every day. If you do it once, maybe twice, when there is an actual invasion.
Okay, now, Israel right now, did that logic work when they're starving people? And like, people on chat, okay, Charlie Kirk said his 10-year-old daughter getting raped by a family member should be forced to bring that baby to term and give birth to it. Do you believe that he's correct when he says a 10-year-old girl, after raped by her own family member, should be forced to give birth to that baby? Her own family member rapes her. Okay, 10-year-old girl, should she be forced to give birth? All right, chat? What do you guys think? MAGA supporters, do you agree with Charlie Kirk there? Is that a radical viewpoint, or is that a normal viewpoint in America?
People learn, and the threat of force is what keeps this sort of thing from happening. Those are the men that will go into your communities and break into your homes and rape your women, take your children.
And like the whole thing, we know immigrants have a lower violent crime rate than American citizens. So acting like, oh, these are the people that are going to come rape your children and rape your wives and take your children and whatever else. It's just like, you want to put this on this group. You are very intentionally putting this on this group. You want to do this. You want this to be true about this group. And you're going to keep saying it until people think it's true.
But hey, they're dreamers. We're not doing background checks on them. We're not doing DNA checks on them. They just come right into the United States however they please. Remember the whole whip fiasco? My position all along is, yes, it wasn't true, but of course you should be able to use whips against foreigners that are coming into your country. Why is that controversial? What would happen if Texas started firing rubber bullets? Let's play this out. Let's just say rubber bullets. What would happen? And by the way, I don't rejoice in this. I don't want to have to use force, but these people are criminals. They're invading. The left cannot comprehend that their policies fail because they're bad. They cannot comprehend that they lose elections because people can't.
Is he going to say we're evil?
Stand them. Instead, just like the Soviets 100 years ago, they assume that they are wreckers. Their policies fail because they are evil people. Lurking.
Now, I've heard liberals say, like, I believe this person's viewpoints are racist, okay, or their viewpoints are classist or sexist or whatever. I've heard those criticisms. I've never heard a top liberal pundit just be like, my argument is they fail because they are evil people. They're evil people. Talk about dehumanizing rhetoric, right? Talk about dehumanization. Like, I just don't know. Is that a normal thing that people say? These are evil people? I've never said that about MAGA, ever. In my entire channel's history, I've never stooped so low to just say these are evil people. I would never say that about people. I would say they're wrong. I'd say they have very bad beliefs, but I would never say they're just evil people and like irredeemable. It just seems kind of crazy.
In America, who just sabotage them for no reason. This is why the left literally needs endless, constantly increasing migration from the third world. Because among people born in America, the share who are alienated by how much the left obviously hates them is constantly growing.
Someone said, LOL, how about calling people Nazis, you liar? If you called someone a Nazi and you wanted to say that they want to pass like an enabling act like Hitler did, that's a criticism you can make about a government accumulating power. I'm not just saying you're evil. I'm saying your tendencies are going to be going towards, and I don't usually say that, but like you can say their tendencies are going towards what this authoritarian government did. I can make comparisons to Putin's Russia, to Mussolini's Spain. I can make comparisons to Hitler's Germany. I can make a comparison to Mao's China. I can make all these comparisons to authoritarian regimes. It doesn't matter what era. It doesn't matter who it is. It's not just name calling. I'm not just saying they're evil. There's actual substance behind that.
The Great Replacement strategy, which is well underway every single day on our southern border.
No, I'm not saying Nazis are evil. I'm saying that they did terrible things and they have reasons for it. Saying someone's evil is a weak argument. That's just weak. Why would he say evil when you can make actual arguments?
Strategy to replace white rural America with something different.
Sure. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools.
Like there's a lot better, there's much better ways to explain the world other than just saying people are evil. Like, yeah, people do bad things, terrible things. But when you're looking at the World War II historical account, they're not just going to make a sentence that says, the Nazis did this because they are evil. It's not that simple. Many of the Nazis were people like us who were radicalized and brought into an authoritarian regime. Not every Nazi was just like an evil person. They were brought into a cult.
We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the...
Now, this quote here, I don't think he does say we should have a minimalist approach to this. So like there should be a minimalist approach. We should try to reduce gun deaths, but the idea of getting a utopia of 0 deaths is not possible, which I agree with that. I don't think his quote here is bad. I know liberals use this quote a lot. For all the people in chat who are like, oh, this person's super bad faith, I'm really not. He just is a bad guy. He's not a good guy. He was not. But like his quote here is not that bad. The bad part is having zero care when shootings do happen, or having zero care to think about policies that could be minimalist. But his quote here is not bad at all. Like, it makes sense. He does say there's a cost to pay, and he says it's worth it. So like, that could be a reason for indifference. Like, oh, I mean, you know, it's a product of a militarization in America. But like, I don't think this quote is that crazy, to be honest.
Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go...
That's a cool cop-out for Nazis, LOL, this guy. I'm sorry, if you don't understand why just saying people are evil, if you want to talk like a 5-year-old, you can. They are evil! Like, there's reasons why they became Nazis. There's reasons why. And you should probably learn the reasons why so you don't repeat it. You should understand National Socialism in Nazi Germany and understand why Hitler did what he did and how he did it and how the propaganda worked. Because some of you people are falling for the same propaganda. Not the same people, they're not Nazis, but it's similar propaganda in all authoritarian regimes. When you talk about sending the military in to solve every conflict in America, send the military in if there's a crime. Every city should have the military, you argue. And you don't realize how that connects back to how bad they were. You think saying evil is saying those people are bad. When I say that they're bad because they're sending in the military, that's a real criticism. We should not use the military and authoritarian control from the central federal government to decide local law enforcement. That's what authoritarian regimes typically do. That's my criticism. I'm not just going to say, oh, they're evil. No. It's a dumb way to rationalize the world. It's dumb to look at the world that way. Make actual points and arguments. And that's one reason Charlie Kirk is bad for you guys, because the argumentation doesn't give you the tools to have constructive conversations. You're just doing one-liners. You're evil. What is a woman? You're evil. Pronouns. Oh, you're evil. It's just like, it's not good for debate. It is crazy, though. The big quote, I'm struggling to take serious anyone more outraged by Jimmy Kimmel losing his job than Charlie Kirk losing his life. That quote is wild. Because you're outraged by Jimmy Kimmel because it's currently a government using their authoritarian power to silence dissenting speech. Right? That's why you're mad about Jimmy Kimmel. The government is infringing upon the First Amendment, where the government is restricted from making laws that infringe upon someone's right to express themselves in a free country like America, right? That's the big issue. The government does it. If the government wanted to kill Charlie Kirk, we'd be very angry about that too. But a lone wolf, insane person killed Charlie Kirk. And that's a terrible thing. And we could talk about, you know, how terrible that is. We could talk about ways to prevent violence in the future, all that kind of stuff. But anyone who's like, why are they more outraged about Jimmy Kimmel? That's an active thing by the government. When we advocate for change in the system and we protest the government, it's because we want the government to change policies that can prevent future issues. Or maybe the government's using an abuse of power right now. They're abusing their power. What do you want to protest about Charlie Kirk? I see all the things like, these good Charlie Kirk supporters are not rioting or shooting or looting. Like, what are they going to protest for in general? Like, what are they going to protest for against the government? What did the government do that you want them to change as a result of what Charlie Kirk, of what happened to Charlie Kirk? That's the big question. That's why you protest. Like, what do you want them to change as a result? Because although some of the demands after George Floyd were dumb, like defund the police, I thought that was really dumb. And that's why Joe Biden even fought those people and said, no, we're going to fund the police more. They still had an ask. They still knew what they were there for. So, like, what change do you want to see is the big question.
After what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school. While also while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom.
The one issue I think that is so against our senses, so against the natural law, and dare I say, a throbbing middle finger to God, is the transgender thing happening in America right now. We are in a church, and so it's important to remember Deuteronomy 22:5, a woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God. You hear that, William Thomas? You're an abomination to God.
Her daughter all of a sudden came home and said, I'm a boy. She said, what? And the whole assembly line, the conveyor belt, was started to grind. They wanted to give her cross-sex hormones. They wanted to give her testosterone therapy. They wanted to cut off her breasts. They wanted to do all these sorts of things. And these doctors do this without any thought whatsoever. Yeah, sure. Here's the script. Here's the clinic. Go here. Go for surgery. These doctors need to be put in prison quickly. We need to have a Nuremberg-style trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor. We need it immediately.
We must react politically. We must ban trans-affirming care the entire country. Donald Trump needs to run on the...
It's hard to make a comparison because people will pretend like they didn't say things that were anti-gay marriage before gay marriage and marriage equality was passed. Because many people are anti-marriage equality. They do not like that gay people can get married in America. So when Charlie Kirk says every gender-affirming doctor should be put into a Nuremberg trial for the crimes against humanity they've done. Now, that's what people would say 15, 20 years ago, like Rush Limbaugh and all those crazy people. That's what they would say about gay people and people that marry gay couples. If you marry a gay couple, you're an abomination as well. You're participating in that abomination. So therefore, you should be also put on trial for crimes against humanity. So and they said that 50, 60, 70 years ago about interracial marriage. If you marry a black and a white person, then you're also going to be, you should also be put to trial because you're doing crimes against humanity. So along the way of civil rights, whether it's interracial marriage, whether it's gay marriage, the people involved in that were always what Charlie Kirk just said there. And you could say oh, I would have been so pro-gay in 1990. This is the same argument they've always used against the next minority group they want to shut down. And now that it's trans people, they're going to say, oh, all the gender-affirming care doctors, who cares about any studies, who cares about anything? Who cares about people in general? Who cares about consenting adults undergoing a process they want to do? They all and they'll pretend it's about kids, but Charlie Kirk just said in this clip, all gender-affirming doctors, whatever, should be put to a Nuremberg trial. But again, same thing as if you say, oh, that person that married 2 gay couples or a gay couple, that person should be put to a Nuremberg trial. They used to say that.
This issue.
Abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay. So if
and this is the brain rot that the people in chat have who are Charlie Kirk fans. What party freed the slaves? I saw people saying this on Twitter so many times, and if people don't understand that the Southern Democrats who ran the KKK became Republicans after the Southern switch, after the Civil Rights Act was passed, you realize the KKK said, hey, Democrats helped black people vote. We don't like black people, therefore we're now Republicans. It's just if you still believe that, I don't know what we can even talk about. If you think that's a good argument, I don't know.
you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth, and she would and she was going to.
Oh, is this out of context? Is this out of context?
Donald Trump needs to run on this issue.
Abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay, so if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth, and she would and she was going to give birth and she was going to live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that.
The real world is graphic. Complaining about it being graphic is crazy. Like I said before, there's thousands of stories of 10-year-old girls getting raped by a family member and being forced to carry the baby to term, or having to flee the state to get care. It's graphic, but it's real. It's the real world, bro.
Happens to many people.
The answer is yes. The baby would be delivered. That's how we get the greatest.
Is that out of context enough? What else does he need to say? He gave a pretty strong yes there. He seems upset about it. He's looking down, but that's a radical freaking belief, bro. That's a radical belief. That's insane. Let's poll that in America. How does that poll in America? What fringe of Americans does that hit? What, 10%, 20% of Americans that believe a 10-year-old girl should be forced to do that? How many people in America would say that?
Horrors of the 20th century. Those people are unwanted.
So you're comparing abortion to the Holocaust?
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse.
It's really not. I don't
It's
think
45 million babies. It's nearly 8 times worse than the Holocaust. What's the moral difference between a small baby in the womb and a grown Jew who was killed at Auschwitz? What's the moral difference?
I think
kind of a wild argument, but how often does it happen? It doesn't matter how often. Like, it happens enough. Let's see. Like, if this story isn't enough for you, 10-year-old rape victim forced to travel from Ohio to Indiana for abortion. There was a huge case of this. A 10-year-old child rape victim in Ohio was 6 weeks pregnant, ineligible for an abortion in her own state. And do you know how many young kids are going through this and they can't tell anybody? And their families just abuse them because they're in state, like red states, they'll get put to jail if they tell anyone. Like, and this gynecologist here, from a doctor in Ohio who treats abuse. And this person right here, this young girl, she was 6 weeks pregnant. Exactly. I'm pretty sure she was 6 weeks and a day, because the Ohio ban was like 6 weeks exact. She was like 6 weeks on like a day, and she couldn't get it done by the actual 6 week period, because most people don't know they're pregnant by that time, especially a freaking 10-year-old girl. It's just crazy. Like, this 10-year-old girl in Charlie Kirk's world would be forced to bring that child to term. Like, that's a radical, crazy position. That's insane.
Think that monogamous heterosexual marriage should be a prerequisite to adoption?
again, there is no separation of church and state. It's a fabrication. It's a fiction. It's not.
Someone said, and move there then? What's the issue? Stop the abuse? If you don't understand why a 10-year-old girl being raped by her own family would not be able to just to move, then I don't know why I would talk to you. If you don't really understand that.
In the Constitution, it's made up by secular humanists. Of course, we should have church and state mixed together.
Hi, Charlie. I'm Addie, and I'm 14. I'm a freshman in high school, and I was wondering, as someone who has like a different opinion on college, what would you say the pros and cons are? Because I'm interested in political journalism.
Let me also speak to some of the young ladies here in high school where your top, who's here where your top priority is get married and have kids? Raise your hand. Okay. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree. And no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right? Don't lie to yourself, like I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here. And that's okay, actually.
When you grow up as someone, especially in the third world.
I did not like him saying this to this girl as well. I don't like that mentality. I don't like it. Oh, what can I bring to the world? You're going to get pregnant. I just don't like it.
Actually.
When you grow up as someone, especially in the third world, you have a very different understanding of the Palestinian struggle.
So he's not even eating with his hands correctly. People say, well, he's just being himself. He's so authentic. Okay, if a third worlder comes and starts defecating on the side of the street in Times Square, are we going to say, boy, he's being his true and authentic self? 500 million people in India defecate on the side of the street. That's bad. We don't do that in the West because we try to value cleanliness, order, and yes, actually things that aren't filled with filth. He's either authentically gross or he's being a fake, disgusting person.
Talking about abortion, J.D. Vance recently mentioned, if a 13-year-old girl gets raped by her uncle, that abortion should be allowed. Do you think that the right wing should kind of moderate their views on no abortion ever to accommodate?
The only exception would be life of the mother, which is a debated thing that even exists.
The thing Charlie Kirk says about it's a debate on if an abortion would be needed to save the life of a mother ever is crazy that he says that over and over again. Unless if he thinks it's a different procedure, if a pregnancy is going awry, and like there's already been women who have died from basically massive infections in their bodies because of not being able to get a abortion in red states. They die from what is that? Septic shock, is it called? Here, wait. Yeah, septic shock, sepsis. They died from that. Like, the idea he doesn't know that some women might need to get an abortion to save their life is kind of crazy. I don't know why he doesn't know that in these clips, but I guess he doesn't. But overall, like, his opinions are extremely radical in America. Extremely radical in any free country. And that's only a very small portion of what he believed it's just tiring as well. It's tiring. I'm sick of, like, I was really personally affected by seeing what happened to Charlie Kirk. I was extremely affected by that. I was in a really bad place mentally. I hate when that stuff happens. It's terrible. It makes the world less safe for everybody involved. And seeing so many right-wingers say the liberals did this, Democrats did this, after seeing mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, Dylan Roof, after seeing the Buffalo shooter just killing black people, brown people, all these minorities, repeating Donald Trump's quotes about invasions and about our country being overtaken by black and brown immigrants who are coming to go after our wives and daughters, and they are enemies to America, and Haitians eat cats and dogs. And Trump's rhetoric translated right to their mouths. These people doing these terrible crimes. And I never said all of MAGA's responsible, or all of Republicans are responsible. Even January 6th, which most Republicans wrongly support, even Biden would say, you know, Republicans are not MAGA Republicans. MAGA Republicans are not the entire party. MAGA Republicans are not the entire party. All right, there's some reasonable people in the party we got to work with. But the idea, all these Twitter people and all these J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller calling Democrats extremist terrorists, which he's been doing that every night. He's been saying that every night for the past like 5 months. So that's not new. But it's terrible, because I had a terrible response to what happened to Charlie Kirk. Everyone I know did as well, in very progressive liberal spaces. Everyone I know was extremely terrible. Yeah, it was extremely terrible. And I see Elon Musk sharing a screenshot from accounts with 0 interactions, 0 likes, 0 followers, 0 comments, saying, they want you dead. It's just like, no, we got to tone down the rhetoric. Please, we need to tone down the rhetoric. We can't keep like breaking people's brains. And Elon Musk, with his algorithm on Twitter, is probably making people go crazy right now. And they're not fixing it. The internet's the issue. The internet's a big issue right now. And all these Republicans, like Gavin Newsom, his press office says Kristi Noem's going to have a bad day today. All right. And every big Republican account says, Gavin Newsom, you're threatening the life of Kristi Noem. This is a threat. Trump this week called a Democrat in Congress a piece of scum, non-American. They should be kicked out of America as soon as possible. We should be taking care of her. He talked about Liz Cheney. We should be training guns at her face so she knows how it feels. Trump has said, you know, Bernie's going to have a bad day today. Trump has said this person's going to have a bad day today. And Republicans are just hypocritical about it. They never say anything. And then Gavin Newsom press office says Kristi Noem's going to have a bad day today because they're passing a law to ban law enforcement from wearing masks in California. And Republicans are like, you're calling for violence. It's just, I don't know how we need to have good conversations, and we need people to stop believing in really dumb things like this. It doesn't make any sense to believe in this, to interpret things this way. It's so painful. And they're saying this about something we had to grieve too. And I hate this world where, like, Republicans want to turn Charlie Kirk into a martyr instantly. They put a donation link on his death. Trying to raise money for Turning Point USA, trying to raise money all across the world. Forcing companies and media personnel to donate to TPUSA, Trump using it, Tucker Carlson using it, Stephen Miller using it, J.D. Vance using it, taking over his show, The Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro replacing him on college campus tours. All these people clout chasing off of his death. It's just really crazy. Like his wife's speech about him, saying she made him a martyr. She performed a ritual of martyrdom. Like, her speech linked to a donation page that accepted $100,000 donations. And it just seems like we just keep on doing the attention economy, the rage economy. We keep on using everyone's emotions, both angry, even like happy, sad, whatever, in the worst possible ways to make us fight each other, to make money off it. They're selling merch already. They were selling merch like the next day. Like, I understand everyone copes in different ways for sure, but all these Republicans talking about, oh, the last text Charlie Kirk sent me, he supported my exact political mission. Just using his likeness, his image, to fit their agenda. pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Charlie Kirk even, anti-Charlie Kirk, Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes. They're all using him, using his death for this means. And it's really scary to see. There was a church today who replicated Charlie Kirk's voice. This church replicated his voice with AI and made him say words from heaven. And seeing AI replication of this person as they're trying to make him a martyr, and him talking as if, you know, I'm okay now. I'm with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ in heaven. It just is so scary. I don't want to see humans become robots. I don't want to see humans become computerized programs and just big blown up branded images of ourselves where the person doesn't matter anymore. The brand matters. The money matters. The feeling, the real human emotion is taken away, and it's replaced with empty human, just like signaling. I hate where this is going. I hate where this is going. It's terrible. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'm sick of Tim Pool trying to push for civil war on Twitter for the past 5 years. I'm sick of all of them making money. I'm sick of Democrats having no response to it. I'm sick of all of it. And all of us just feel helpless, so we fight each other like dumb animals at the bottom. It's just really dumb. Yeah, Charlie Kirk's style of making it a circus is not good for conversation. It poisons our ability to talk to each other even more than before. What Charlie Kirk did is try to set up college kids and others to look bad in a circus type event where there's a huge crowd yelling at them. These people are not media trained already. He's an expert. He's one of the best of all time at communicating in media. A real conversation does not sound like that. It does not sound like, what is a woman? If you need a yes or no answer to something, or if you need like, what is a woman? Can a man be a woman? If you need yes or no answers to these things, it's because any nuance is a threat to you. Nuance is a threat to you. I'm also sick of all of you who celebrate the death of Charlie. If anyone who says the entire left is celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, I don't respect your opinions anymore. I just can't do it. You're just a kid. You're trying to make us fight each other. I can't do it. Even the small part of the population who would celebrate Charlie Kirk's death, I don't care. There's such a small part of the population. Stop saying everyone is that person. You just want to make all of us look bad because you just want to poison the well. You should watch the videos of the ones celebrating them. Yeah, if you only watch the videos that make you mad, you're going to be mad all the time. The internet algorithms show you videos that make you mad to make sure you argue online and make them more money. But you are too goofy to understand that. You fall for the trap every time. You love arguing with your neighbors on Twitter. You love it when they show you propaganda to make you mad. You want to believe all of it. You love that. Yeah, sure. We have literal people who are Nazis marching in this country with swastikas. I'm not saying every person is brandishing swastikas. Or they all support literal Nazism in America. Nancy Mace is getting close to the edge where she's not a woman. Your well is poisoned because you did not police the crazies on your side of the fence. The crazies on my side of the fence are not even voting for Democrats. The crazies on your side are in the government right now. The moment you pardoned January 6 terrorists, and you still will defend them, you lost all of that sense of humanity. It's just kind of how it is. A ritual of martyrdom. Are you serious? She literally said this widow's cries are gonna, what, like, be heard across the world like a war cry or a battle cry. And she literally declared, she said, my husband will serve as a martyr now. Like, she literally, yeah, that's what that was, yeah. And Trumpers can't argue with that. They can't tell me why someone who tases a cop and cracks their skull trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power in America, they can't explain why that's not a violent criminal. They can't explain that, so they just, like, send laughing emojis. Or they bring up BLM. How many BLM protesters were pardoned? None. They didn't get arrested. Yeah, the 10,000 arrests were all fake. Good argument. Yeah. You can tell how you're tied to reality. You're very tied to it. You know all the facts, don't you? I might take a little break, guys. People who are watching my channel usually thank you for hopping on here, but I might take a break for an hour and come back at 10 p.m. when I usually have the rest of the people that watch me. I appreciate you sharing in here. Representative Ilhan Omar is trying to pass universal school meals. So the entire week, Donald Trump calls Ilhan Omar an enemy to America, and she's trying to feed kids in red counties. It's just kind of how it is. This one's fun. Laurel Loomer says, urgent intelligence report. Al-Qaeda presence on U.S. soil. Imminent multi-city Islamic terror attacks. Sources tell me that the National Counterterrorism Center has officially determined that the Islamic terror... Sources tell me. Jihadist activity. Are they just announcing a false flag operation? Are we gonna have like a 9/11 part 2? Not that that was a false flag. I'm not saying it's a false flag, but I'm just saying like a justification for ultimate power. A justification for it. What is that? What are they doing? David Portnoy got roasted. Oh wait, David Portnoy got roasted. Got roasted. All right, guys. I'm gonna take a little break. Like I said, I'm gonna take a break for an hour. Come back at 10 p.m. Okay, I'll be back at 10 p.m. You sent me a link.
I always do left or no. Right now in 2025 at 10:06 on September 18th, the extreme right are the biggest group of pussies that has ever existed in America. A bunch of because people with green hair at Starbucks and because once in a while a fucking guy swam against girls, you fucking pussies have broken in half, led by the duo of Donald Trump and Consequence Culture Portnoy, who is just waving his arms at the right to like him again after the thing last week where he said it was Trump's fault, privately and publicly, that Charlie Kirk died. Now he's like, I got to get them back. I got to get them back. I got to get them back. Typical, I will say, fits the tribe profile.
In these very troubling times, we hear a lot of talk about freedom. So
Oh wait, I turned my volume down. I said, what did that person get fired? If they said that about David Portnoy and they worked for him. Alright guys, like I said, I'll be back at 10 p.m. Thank you for watching. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much. Okay. I'll be back in 1 hour. 10:15. Okay. Thank you. How's Europe doing?